Hey y'all, welcome back to Politics After Dark. I am one of your hosts, Miracle Jenkins. And of course, we got Nicole, we got Amy.
Hey
Well,
everybody.
you might hear my 5-year-old in the background. Disregard her. She's not into politics yet. She's just
Right.
learning the piano. That's enough for her. It's contentious enough. But we got some exciting stuff for like everyone to talk about, some information to put in front of everyone, and some interesting people to meet. It's not just going to be us today. Like last week, we had Richard, or 2 weeks ago, we had Richard. Last week was just us, but this week we have some awesome people from the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity. And we're starting off positive because very soon things will get much darker and much more sad and much more serious. So, um, I think with
Yeah.
that, let's I could preface it a little better, maybe. We're going to talk about qualified immunity. Listen, let's dumb it down. Well, Nicole, what is qualified immunity before we bring in Cynthia and Matt, just so for the people who
So
are just talking about it.
you're gonna test me. Qualified immunity is basically what is given to police officers um, in relation to not facing charges. I know there are other things on top of that, but that is what I know of qualified immunity is it keeps cops from being held responsible for things that they do against the law.
Yeah, that's Amy,
So
that's
Amy.
it goes a step further than that, actually. There is a legal precedent that states that if a person is in the employ of and doing the job of the government, so all the way from the top down.
this is all public officials. This is not just cops. This is any public official.
Yeah, I mean, you could be talking about your local librarian.
Yeah, wow.
You could be talking about children's services
That's
or a bunch of
horrible
others
and
that
frightening.
they cannot be held liable when going against your civil rights and their duties. So it's more than just George Floyd, for example.
Yeah,
It's everything down the line. That includes judges, that includes prosecutors, that includes everything you can think of.
it's
I'm
just not
sorry,
more
but it goes
frightening
clear
enough.
to the level that I had years ago, and I remember this. There was a trash truck going through the alley next to where I lived. They went to empty the big dumpster into the truck, and they were employed by the city. They were a part of the city. Out of that truck came flying a gas can. It busted through my window, and they couldn't be held liable to replace the window. That's how far down the line this goes. Okay.
That's crazy.
It is. You would think good neighbor policies, right?
All right.
Something. The city
Like,
would be,
it's as if, just cops having qualified immunity isn't enough. Like, isn't scary enough. Like, basically, any government worker can basically do what they want without impunity based on the state they live in.
so effectively it is a legal doctrine where it's attempting to protect, I guess, workers, what I'm hearing, and the state from lawsuits in the event that something happens. And in the trash can thing, it's like that's
That's
even that's ridiculous. That's like, no, it's not an act of God, right? Like the window didn't break itself.
Right.
Someone should be held responsible for this, and
yeah,
that's not like not to be like you know, compared to murdering people or George Floyd, that's way more serious. That's like way more intense and violent and urgent. So looking at the spectrum of both these things you need to be accountable. But in our system, okay, you're protected from this, and we see how it's actually playing out in real life, what it's like for
yeah.
people to have that protection.
Right. And so we are trying to look at this from a perspective of Okay, how am I going to trust my civil servants if they live to a different
Yeah.
standard than the general public? How are we going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, I can trust my government? We can't.
Well, you guys ready to invite our guests in?
Absolutely.
All right, I
Let's
will
do
do
it.
that right now. Hey, Matt. We're just waiting for Cynthia to get in.
All right. Am I audible?
You
Yes,
are.
yeah.
Hi, Matt.
Hello.
It says she's joining.
And so we just did a very general explanation of how far qualified immunity goes from the bottom to the top, everything that people need to know.
Let's see if it lets her in now. Here we go.
Hey, Cynthia. Cynthia, what you gonna if you
Cynthia.
could try to? You're here. We can't quite see you yet. You gotta hit the video and camera button, or video and. Oh, yeah, there you go. Hey.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hi,
Hello.
Miss Cynthia. You look gorgeous tonight as always.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
So, guys, we're coming back. We had a brief intro, and we're talking about qualified immunity. So, we went over the definition, we talked about it, and a little bit of what the impacts can actually be like in real life. We talked about Amy, her actual experience, so just with contractors for the city doing garbage, making a huge friggin' mistake, making a fucking mistake, and making, I want to say it was like a can or a canister flew through her window, broke it, and they can't be sued. They can't be held liable for that. The problem is that's at the low end, right? No one's life, thank God, was at stake. There wasn't some sort of propane tank or something like that where it exploded. It didn't escalate. But we want to hear from you guys, Cynthia and Matt. If you could tell us a little bit about yourselves. You're coming in from the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity. And if you guys could, I want to give you the mic or the floor, so to speak, and you take us away here, and we'll go from there. But Cynthia, please, ladies first.
Okay, thanks to you guys for having us tonight. Well, my name is Cynthia Brown. My pronouns are she, hers. I go by Cindy, and I live in the great state of Ohio. I started my journey back in 2017 after my nephew, Kareem Ali Nadir Jones, was executed by Columbus police. Kareem went outside his girlfriend said there were kids outside throwing rocks. So he went outside, to investigate. Once to get outside, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, please.
Okay. Once he went outside, he was confronted by two Columbus police officers. So Kareem, got tired of trying to explain what happened and he turned to walk away. At that time, the police officers shot Kareem twice in his back. And once he hit the ground, they shot him in his face and his neck. Kareem's case is the first body camera case where you literally see a man die. What they did at that time, they covered up the camera not once, not twice, not three times, but five times. Then they turned down the volume for the first 60 seconds to hide their crimes. Well, the cops claimed because Kareem, as he ran, like so many black men, wear their pants sagging, when he went to pull his pants up, that's when they shot him. So they said they feared for their life and they got qualified immunity. So I started, digging real deep into qualified immunity. We started lobbying the lawmakers, in the General Assembly, mention it, they're Republicans. So it was right after George Floyd. They said they would pass, some form of policies to de-escalate racial bias training, mandatory CPR. But guess what? During lame duck session in 2020, nothing passed. So we decided then to put it on the ballot. We formed a committee called Accountability Now Ohio, and that was in 2021. Well, of course, Dave Yost does what he does best. He denied it over a title and just a few little grammar issues. Well, we submitted this petition, I want to say, a dozen times. So finally, in 2024, our lawyers, filed in the high Supreme Court that he couldn't, fill it out because of the title. Our title is called Protecting Ohioans' Constitutional Rights. So all the courts ruled, whether it was in Ohio Supreme Court, he got angry. He went to Third District Court, which, by the way, is Judge Graham. He was appointed by Judge Bush, Republican, right? He lost there. Then he got angry, and then he took it to, Sixth District in Cincinnati. Well, the three-judge panel ruled in our favor that said Dave Yost had violated our First Amendment right, our freedom to petition, and our freedom of speech, just to list a few. Then he lost there. He wanted a full en banc hearing. Well, guess what? In that district, you have 9 Republican judges and 6 Democrats. He couldn't even get 3 or 4 judges for the full en banc hearing. So after that, he goes right directly to United States Supreme Court. With that being said, he lost again 6-3, including the Chief Justice Roberts, who voted in our favor. So during this time, we've been very persistent. We've been the voices of those impacted by police brutality, those impacted by wrongfully convicted. We do have also another ballot initiative to protect wrongfully convicted people. So we're on the right side of history. I think that people, when they do these No King rallies, they should have a call to action before, during, or after. Mm-hmm. I think that most people in Ohio should be carrying the clipboards, getting these signatures, because that is the only way we can protect the Constitution on a state level. While Trump was pulling back all federal protection, trying to end civil rights bill from 1964, rolling back civil oversight committees all around America. And his next target is Ohio, because Bernie Moreno has clearly stated that he wants Cleveland, Ohio, Civilian Oversight Committee gone. So with that being said, that's my story. That's how I got involved. And we are not anti-police. Let me stress this. My one nephew was killed by police. And the following year, his other younger brother, he became a state trooper. So we're definitely not out here, we just want fairness. We want families with some accountability in our government. And our government, and not only in Ohio, but America, is failing us.
Yes. And let me add this into Miss Cindy's part. I did get 5051 in Ohio now has our volunteer link up on their page. You can reach out to us and sign on through them. We need people at the rallies, at all of the No Kings rallies, taking our petition. Because honestly, I can't trust our government right now, and I ran for Congress. If I can't trust us, who's going to?
And I agree. I think back when I was growing up, my parents fought for civil rights as well as my grandparents. They were maced, beaten by batons, everything. So my ancestors being, African American woman, Black woman, we've always had to fight against Jim Crow and these Black code laws. And I think once again, we are going backwards. And I remember Vice President Harris, she ran on "We're not going back." Oh yeah, we're going back with Project 2025. Because if you're not straight, white, rich, there's targets on our backs right about now.
There's targets on all of our backs. And I tell everyone, it's the money thing. If you're not, as you just said, Cynthia, if you're not in their neighborhood right now, right? If you don't live in their upper middle class suburb, their upper class suburb, and even if you do, right, if you're not a part of that network, that is, we are in the dark days. We're all experiencing that. But I do also think, for what it's worth, that even some of the people that voted for Trump, that thought, I might benefit. Oh, I don't want to go too far, but we're seeing right now, at least with the shutdown, how many people are experiencing their healthcare prices about to fucking go up. 300% in some cases. Yeah. So people are feeling the burn incredibly bad. But I want to introduce Matt as well, because we're gonna need allies in this fight, and I mean that quite sincerely. So Matt, you are a white man here in America. You're coming from from the similar coalition here, Ohio Coalition to Unqualified Immunity. I want to hear your inciting incident. I want to hear how you got into it. But of course, I just want to say real quick. I want to say rest in peace to Kareem and fucking like all victims of gun violence here. This is the first time we've had this conversation on our show, so I want to recognize that people are losing their lives due to the policies and things that we are subjecting our fellow countrymen to, and it's not a game, and it's quite serious. So I do want to recognize people are losing lives. But anyway,
to you,
Well, thank you, Miracle. I greatly appreciate that.
I just want to acknowledge that. But Matt, I want to make some space for you, brother. Get in here. So please talk to us.
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't have any dramatic origin story with any of this. Frankly, I find the rank dismissal of our rights to be very disturbing, as I think most people would. I first learned about qualified immunity and all of these related immunity doctrines just through reading and discovering a little bit more and a little bit more throughout the years about the legal system. And I was just lucky enough to be watching a podcast one day, which was discussing this very interesting notion of putting an end to qualified immunity in Ohio. So I got myself on Google and I found the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity and got in touch. But I think ultimately the impact on society that something like qualified immunity has is much more detrimental than most people might realize. So we've heard some stories so far, and I've got another one from Ohio that I think might help drive home the problem that we're dealing with here. So in Cleveland, there was a gentleman a few years back named Charles Jackson, and he was wrongfully convicted of murder and sentenced to prison for quite a long time. But luckily for him, a group called the Ohio Justice Project came along. The Ohio Innocence Project came along, and they requested some documents from the prosecutor that tried his case. And this prosecutor was not so happy about this group trying to undo her great work that she had done by convicting this man. So she delivered these documents to the Innocence Project, except all of the lines that would have exonerated Charles were redacted. So he spent an extra 8 months in prison. And as you would expect, he was a little bit upset by this, and he wanted to sue this prosecutor. The court agreed that his constitutional rights were indeed violated, but because of qualified immunity, the damage done to this man's life went uncompensated. He couldn't get a dime, simply because this person who had done him wrong was a member of the government.
Now, hang on a minute. I want you guys to take this one in. They spent a minimum of how long in jail?
Many, many years.
And could not get a dime. All those years of no income, losing everything they had, no contact with some of their family members who I'm sure had no clue that they were actually innocent. How on God's green earth do you tell me that man's suffering, because it really literally is suffering, was not worth anything?
I think the knock-on effect of this is that the public, upon learning things like this, realizes that any faith that they had in the system that they are ensconced in is to be doubted very, very heavily.
Yeah.
So when you have things like qualified immunity, absolute immunity, these things erode public trust in the government so badly that at a certain point, the people just start to pull back because they don't think that the system is set up to serve their interests at all.
Mm-mm.
And of course, the government is meant to be serving the people. So that is but one of thousands of cases that you could point to across the country where our rights are just tossed right out the window.
Yeah. And it's been done as far back as this. I'm sorry, it's a legal fallacy. It's fake. The idea that because they're working for the government, that they shouldn't be liable is a legal fallacy. Now, if you want to see the bad actors not brought back in to our government, this is the quickest way to do it, honestly. You want to see them gone? Make it too expensive for the next district down the road to rehire them. Make it so that they look and they go, oh, our insurance won't allow us to bring you in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that is an interesting solution. I do want to talk about solutions because that gives me hope. That makes me feel better. But I also want to point out, and I don't know, it could just be me, but I think how few of us really know what we're living in. When I say what we're living in, what the laws are that actually govern our day-to-day life and what our interactions with law enforcement or attorney justices or what have you, AGs, et cetera, what that actually can be like if those people are vindictive or choosing to use their power against us. It was, I don't want to say remarkable, but it's like terrible. It's astonishing to me is that this system is here for us to live, right? In theory, we set up the government to live by the government to benefit all of us, or at least like white people did that for white people, right? And then we had slavery and so on and so forth. But that's what the system is, supposed to be, right? But even for white people today, your average white person is finding out that if that truly other people have tremendously more power over you, and you live in a system where you can not only be killed immediately outside your home, and those people have immunity. Like that is actually a normal interaction that could perhaps occur. That you could frighten some officers or whatever bullshit they want to do, and you get killed. But the system has a shield in place for the officers. There is no method of recourse for the citizen, though in theory the officer is there for that. And so it makes all of us begin to question, well, is it there for that citizen or is it there for the wealthier citizen in the posh suburb that is not going to experience these things? What is actually, it begins to, at least for me, I know in my political upbringing, I grew up in Evanston, just north of Chicago, a little bit in Chicago for the first 10 years, and then the suburbs. I began to ask these questions, and it's watching tragedies like these on both ends that make me wonder, well, what is the system actually doing, right? It's, you almost have to look at it like a computer program. What's the program actually meant to do? Because you're experiencing it one way or you're told one thing, and then there's another reaction. And I think so much of this, I do want to speak the other thing too at some point, but I think so much of this ends up in people finding themselves on the Republican side of the aisle because they're told that things are going to be one way. There's this liberal vision. And then there's a bunch of us, people like me, I ran for office, people like Amy, who say, hey, here's what people are actually experiencing. I get the theoretical. I've taken AP class, great colleges, Tufts, Northwestern, blah, blah, blah. Sure. I get what we think is happening. And if you live in a wealthy suburb, perhaps that is your experience. But the bulk of the population is actually having this adverse reaction to these policy prescriptions that we've doled out over a generation or two. And so you find people losing faith when those leaderships, those people in the suburbs aren't paying attention. And we consistently tell them, hey, please hop in here.
So let me hop in here and give you what I asked the Ohio Redistricting Commission. Go back, I told them, go back and think. Look at what you were taught in school. K through 12, what our government is, what our social studies classes taught us. Are we really the people that we tell our children we are? And if you get real honest about it, we are not.
No.
It is hidden. Go
And
ahead.
this for me, Amy, this is where
I was I was just gonna say I'm over here swinging my head because it's not. We are the haves and the have-nots. We're not, it's the powerless versus the powerful right now. And I don't think it's ever been what we were brought up. I think a lot of that has been propaganda.
Right.
That's my opinion.
But
You're
let me
talking to
give
somebody
you-
who's been a progressive for the last 7, 8 years.
Let me give you another tip to that, though. Who are really the powerful? You and I and every average person that can shake hands with their neighbor and come to a middle ground we can all meet at and go, no, this is not who we are as Americans, and we shall stand together as one. The people that can sit there and stop saying, we are not other than, we are each other. And sit there and go, no, we're not putting up with it anymore. We can't.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I think about the Southern Baptist Christian movement. I think black folks, to some degree, black folks have, not to a large degree, I mean, like not to some degree, but to a large degree, black folks have known this for a long time. We look at the system, we're like, there's so much bullshit going on. And we talk about it in different ways, and Cynthia hop in whenever, but a lot of it is the wealthier white man trying to make more money, right? And he's trying to find ways, he's scheming, I'm going to divide them here. Okay, hey, at least you're a white man, right? Hey, you're a white man, that's better than a black man. And then and for a long time in our country, and this is no joke, that was actually how wealthier white men were able to sustain that cultural. And really, it's not just cultural, right? It was economic, but they called it a cultural divide. They said, hey, you don't need money. You're white. You're blessed to be in the greatest country on God's green earth. What are you upset for? Go kick that black guy's ass or fight that Mexican or that Asian man. And by the way, if you are better and more intense and you're pushing down on those guys, you're economically going to do better. You gotta crush down. And so that was a lot of our history. And when I was campaigning, I was upfront with people about that. I said, the best, and I'll skip forward a little bit, but the best time in our country was when we did come together. That's when we had strong unions. And a lot of that didn't necessarily happen because of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the FDR, and the New Deal individually, but you did have figures of the day. You had Eugene Webb's, you had the Wobblies, you had different unions coming together.
Yeah.
There was a environment, there's people had a foundation. They fucking fought like hell, right, to make that stuff happen. Now, unfortunately, it was almost all for white people, and only a couple of those unions brought in people of color. And that is to their detriment. That's something that's history, and that was a sin. That was a mistake. We're looking past that. But what you had was an ability, and black people, by the way, we were off fighting back against those powers. Even while we're getting pushed down on, we're making Tulsa, we're fighting in Atlanta, we're pushing in Chicago. We're still finding ways to come together as countrymen and women, and at the same time, frequently bringing in white folks, bringing in Mexicans, because we are trying to make this multi-ethnic, trying to make it all work. And a lot of white people are doing this too. Let me be clear. Most white folks at the time, they're being bamboozled, they're being tricked, they're being lied to, and then their folks were lied to before them and before that. But there is that idea of economically coming together as working class people, not a bunch of peon. We're okay with a millionaire here or there. We'll take a few friends, but we're going to come together, have those neighborhoods, live in cul-de-sacs, right? We're going to work at the steel factory or the shoe factory, the bicycle, so on and so forth, and have our towns or whatever. But what I've seen, and you guys attest to this over the past, 60 years since Reagan, is that Democrats and Republicans, to a large degree, have come in and in some cases, Republicans have destroyed these institutions. In other cases, Democrats have left those people out in the wilderness on their own to fight by themselves unsuccessfully. to lose. And I mean this concretely. We have shipped jobs and factories overseas. We have abandoned entire communities. Just look at the map. Throw a pin,
Hmm.
you'll hit an abandoned community. You'll hit a region or a county that likely had intentional economic building that was pulled back. Or maybe Republicans pulled it back, but we didn't reinvest when we got back in charge. So there are these just titter-tatter, step-by-step pulling back various communities. And then you had special things happen, like we got a flow of drugs into Appalachia, right? And instead of tripling down to help people, criminalize them, make it worse, let people, the Sacks, whoever, make billions of dollars. Similar to what we did to the African American community, right? Where we went in there and had flow of drugs. Well, we're going to criminalize them instead of tripling down and helping people and building more of that. So it's
Miracle.
oh, yeah,
It's even worse right now.
yeah,
It's illegal to be homeless
yeah.
in my city where I live. It's literally illegal. You can be arrested and thrown in jail because you're homeless.
As you're homeless. I mean, that's like 1920 or no, 1930, era laws where you got vagabond, we're gonna lock you up and then put you to work, right? Make you build some kind. Amy, you look like you're cooking, like you want to say something. I want to get in here.
I want to respect the time that Matt and Cynthia have given us. And I know that they have busy days tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I want to see if they have other things they want to add into this conversation
Matt raised
before we
his
need
hand.
to respect their time and let them leave for the night.
Well, sure. The the historical turn that we've taken is an interesting one, and I would add a little bit to that. Uh, at the close of the Civil War, with the passage of the 13th and the 14th Amendments, what you had in the southern United States was a very dire situation from the recently freed former slaves. The government was oftentimes in the South infiltrated with members of the KKK, and as you would expect, the recently freed former slaves in the South were not treated very well, and they were unable to enjoy the rights that all of the other citizens of the country were meant to enjoy. So, in a uh, a very powerful moment in history, Congress decided to pass legislation that gave the power to these recently freed slaves and all other Americans to bring against state and local government actors lawsuits. They could be bad actors in government as a consequence of this decision, could be sued for monetary damages at the hands of everyday people. So that gave a lot of power to us. And in the light of what we see today with the subversion of the voting process by gerrymandering, it should come as no surprise that something like qualified immunity came down the pike. 1967, qualified immunity comes not from the representatives of the people. Rather, it comes through judicial fiat from the Supreme Court. They make this policy decision that government officials can be shielded from the very accountability that was brought to them at the close of the Civil War. And this is inexcusable. This is fraught with historical problems, and it echoes the kind of racism that existed before the Civil War and even today. So when you put a stop to qualified immunity, you put a stop to absolute immunity and all of these other unfair protectionist doctrines that shield the government, what you get ultimately, to carry on from what was said earlier, is better training for the government, because hey, they don't want to keep getting sued because of these poorly trained government actors. You get better hiring because they need to make sure that the people they have are as unlikely as possible to be causing these kinds of problems that lead to lawsuits. And you also have disciplinary actions that are brought against these people that actually have a deterrent effect. So in short, what you get when you put a stop to these immunity doctrines is better government, and therefore a government that can be trusted by the people once again.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But the only way to do this, people, is to step in and work with us. If you don't live in Ohio, that's fine. Send in donations. We can use it. This Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity, we're flying by the seat of our pants and we're doing everything we can. We need to be able to print this out and get it to the people that will get out there and get the signatures. We need to be able to pay for the postage for our county area people to get it back in. Those are the big things right there. It's printing. It's
Cynthia?
postage.
Cynthia, do you have anything to add? I know you guys gotta go soon.
Hold up. Yeah, I do. I want to piggyback. My phone is really messing up. Let me see. Okay, I do. I want to piggyback off something Miracle said about, the neighborhoods. Most of these killings are in certain zip codes. We know they're not occurring in, richer neighborhoods in any city or state in America. But qualified immunity has ended in 4 states already. And in 2021, New York City Council ended it. So also, you have people from the right, the left, Libertarian Party. This is a human issue. This isn't Republican or Democrats or Green Party. It is the issue where we can all get together and join forces to end this doctrine. And the key word, Matt was talking about shielded. The key word is reasonable. What would a reasonable officer know? Half the officers don't even know the Constitution. And in our city, you have the same cops that have killed 3 or 4, different individuals, including minors. So most of these people are unarmed. They are minding their own business. They've just run across, these officers that just disregard any human life. So with that being said, I want to say, like Amy said, we do need donations and volunteers. We are a grassroots organization. Each member previously, has printed out their own petition. They've used their own gas money going city to city and state to state.
Yep.
And then before closing, I want to stress this. Officers need to be terminated where they cannot go city to city and state to state. We need that implemented in any policies moving forward. And also, I think that maybe we should do some mandatory drug testing to see what they're actually up to, because they're like gung-ho. You see them out there before a shooting, they're all like, yeah, man, I did this. Like, they're happy. And I mean, how can you be happy? What kind of conscience do you have when you take a life? Do you go home and you realize that, hey, I might have made a mistake? Because in Kareem's case, you could hear the one officer ask on the video, why did you shoot him?
And this is cool. Yeah, and this man, what the.
I can tell you, I used to hang out with cops when I was in my very, very early 20s. They were friends with my sister. Used to go meet them after the bar. And yes, you are correct. There are so many that should be drug tested just from personal experience.
I think I read
Um,
somewhere
but
you got higher rates of domestic abuse, and I don't want to frame all police
yeah,
officers, but it is the profession itself. For me, I look at it, police officers policing, a lot of that came out of fugitive slave catchers. And this is not an insult on anyone. This is just the history of a profession. It is what it is. So in its soul, you don't have a caretaker, a natural protector, right? Some sort of samurai or whatever, right? No, that's not this role. It could become that. There could be a world in which, from the jump, we are hiring. I think, Matt, you were saying this. You're hiring the right people. You're training them on a particular path, and then finally, there's actual consequences. You can't murder people and then get away with it. You know. I see some of our friends. I think this is a half measure. They're advocating that we have social workers, attend police officers. I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. But what would be better is just to have, you can even still call them police officers and go with a lot of the same uniforms or whatever. But the job itself needs to be more about putting love into the community, not so much about being, it's almost in your, to me, it's what is the idea of a nation? Is it countrymen and women? Is it brothers and sisters coming together to raise families, to participate in the international market together for the benefit of our nation, to pay for a collective defense, to defend ourselves, and then at the same time to have spiritual aspects as well. Uh, do we
Mm,
need a highly armed paramilitary in every municipality, in every village, in every town? Uh, do we need that at
we
all, or
don't
is there
need
a
one in
different way
any.
forward? Yeah, yeah, no. So I'm saying, like what are we, we ought to be building more houses and trains and stuff. There's plenty of jobs to be had. There's plenty of stuff to direct our young men and women to do outside of this. And yeah, and it's I yeah, I don't want to be yeah, but anyway, the important thing is, guys, we need you to pitch in. If you're watching this right now, we need you to roll up your sleeves and do a little bit of helping out. Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity.
You got it. You got
Yes,
it right.
I will
And
have
yes,
links
we
in the
need you to pitch
description.
in. We need you now. Not later. We want this on the ballot for Ohio,
If
not just to say, oh, well, we're trying to end this. No, we want the people to vote.
you guys are in Ohio, sign the petition, vote when the midterms come. Is it the midterms or the,
No, it'll be next year. It'll be
okay,
November of next year if we get this rolling the way
yeah,
it's
the
supposed to be.
midterms. Okay. So yeah, if you guys are in Ohio, please vote to end qualified immunity. Go to the links in the description where you will find links to their coalition so you can, anybody can volunteer, anybody can donate. So go there and find that. They will be up when I put this video up.
And the next thing I would say is this: if you don't like it in your state, take us as an example.
Yeah,
Take us as an example. Use what we're doing in your state if you want
Absolutely.
this to end. We have the right. We are the people. We are not just, oh, I don't know, one group. We are the people. This isn't just this side or that side.
yeah,
The people higher up in the upper echelons are going, oh no, please don't do this. We don't want you to do this. They think we're out against the cops, for example. We're not. We want to be safe just like our neighbor wants to be safe. Okay. But when there are bad actors, we want them out. And
That's
this is
right.
one of the few ways we can actually affect change on a
yeah,
practical basis.
And
So,
I would add something here. As as Cynthia mentioned earlier, qualified immunity has been abolished in 4 states already, as well as smaller jurisdictions throughout the country. And to assuage any sort of concerns that people might have about that, some might think that this will result in the cops uh, avoiding doing their job out of fear of being sued, losing their home, losing their car, their family life is ruined, all the sky is falling. But empirically speaking, where qualified immunity has been abolished already, specifically for law enforcement, none of this has turned out to be true. Now, it is the case that in these places, recruitment numbers are down. However, that is true for the entire country.
Mhm.
It's hard to recruit cops anywhere you go, but where you've ended qualified immunity, the rate of recruitment is not any different. So the concern that this is going to tank recruitment is simply not borne out by the numbers. And beyond that, there's a very good reason for it. Now, if you're talking about our amendment to the Ohio Constitution specifically, what you see is that there is a clause in our amendment which states very clearly that if an individual member of the government is to lose one of these civil rights cases, they do not pay out of their own pocket. So the concern that recruitment will drop off and retention of cops will lower, there's simply no reason to think that this would occur, because they are not individually responsible. And of course, this is by design. We don't want that drop in recruitment. And we also, like I mentioned before, want to be pushing the employer, the cities, to be adopting better training, hiring, and disciplinary actions. So there is a really, really strong argument for doing this. And we are really at the forefront of all of this. These other places that have done away with qualified immunity, they have focused their attention on only cops. And this is not enough. There are countless examples of misconduct done by the hands of many other kinds of government employees, not just cops and corrections officers, judges, prosecutors, family
Children's
court
services.
personnel.
I have seen children's services take the children of entire families to then find out that the abuse they thought was going on was not, but the damage to the family is so pervasive.
That's right.
That it changes those children's lives forever.
Let me go back and say something right quick. New Mexico included all government officials, as well as Nevada Supreme Court. They kept it all government officials. So you have two states that were mainly, law enforcement and correctional officers. And then you have the other two states that included, all government officials. And I want to stress this. In Colorado and New Mexico, you had Ben and Jerry as well as American for Posterity. So you had two powerful organizations, one on the right and one on the left, that fought to end it in New Mexico. So we're bringing, organizations from all over, different viewpoints, conservatives, progressives, Libertarian Party, that have, mixed viewpoints. But right about now, I think people should be using critical thinking. That's the key word, critical thinking. Think about this issue. Think about what's going on in your lives today, because so much I would have never, ever in my lifetime imagined that I'd be living through this under Trump's administration. Never, ever.
I have ice like 10 minutes up the road here in Chicago. So yeah,
It's crazy.
Seeing what's going on right now is yeah.
No, it's super bad. And guys, that's part of why the show is called Politics After Dark. We right now are living through a super dark period of time. And I wanted the show to be a space to discuss ideas, both ideas that we're going to talk about during this dark time, but more importantly, ideas to get us out of the dark time, whether those are economic ideas, whether those are legal ideas, whether those are cultural ideas, whatever and everything that comes out of it. I think there needs to be a space for that, and for anyone to come on in and toss in their 2 cents. because we're fighting neoliberalism. We're fighting a lot of corporate suits with a lot of money, and it's not going to be me and just my mind that gets us out of this. It's going to take a team effort. It's going to take people doing the grassroots work that you guys are doing right now, the real shit, which is going door to door, which is fundraising, making tons of phone calls and coming on podcasts like ours to spread the word. So more, from the bottom of my heart, I really want to thank you guys for coming on and joining us
Thanks for
here
having
and sharing your hearts and your minds with us. And y'all, if you're friggin' watching this, go donate right now, $5. Don't pause, donate, come back. We're still
Thank
here.
you.
Yes,
We
thank
need
Thanks for
you.
having us.
Matt,
Thank you
Cynthia.
very much.
Appreciate you guys.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate both of you so much. Because the other thing Nicole and I have talked about for a few years now is how to make politics active. Not just something you talk about around the water cooler, but something you can actually get out there and do. Here, we're giving it to you. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, where you're from. This is an active thing you can get involved with and help. And
Yeah, piggyback. This is a call to action, the only call to action in Ohio where you can actually, change the Ohio Constitution to better the lives of not only cops, but everyday citizens, everybody. We believe, and I believe in my heart, that no one should be above the law. I'm going to leave it right there. No one should be above the
Amen.
law.
Absolutely.
Amen.